In a small, quiet village surrounded by misty forests and vast green fields, there stood an old, crumbling house. This was a house that time seemed to have forgotten. A house that had witnessed beautiful days but still existed in the hearts of the villagers as part of eerie tales. The house was always the subject of whispers and fearful glances. The villagers avoided it as they would an infectious disease because they all knew about its dark past. Over the years, the house had become a symbol of death and sorrow, a place where the living dared not approach, for they said the spirit of a girl still lingered there, waiting for justice. The history of the house was tied to a tragic story. Many years ago, the house belonged to a wealthy family who lived there in carefree happiness. The family had a daughter named Lan, a young, beautiful, and lively girl. Lan had a deep connection with the land and the villagers. Her beauty was unmatched and she was loved by all who knew her. But her life took a tragic turn when she fell in love with a man, someone she thought she would give her heart to forever. He was the eldest son of the wealthiest family in the village. Tall, handsome, and charming, he seemed to be everything a girl like Lan could wish for. But behind the charming smile and sweet words was a dark heart driven by greed and a thirst for power. Lan's love for him blinded her, and one night, when the moon hung high in the sky, he betrayed her in the most horrific way. In a fit of jealousy and rage, he killed Lan and threw her body down a well behind the house, hoping to make her death look like a drowning accident. Lan's death shook the village, but everything was quickly swept under the rug. Her killer, the son of the wealthiest family, was never punished. The villagers, fearing to anger the powerful family, chose to remain silent. They built a temple in the village to honor Lan's spirit, hoping she would find peace, but Lan's soul would never rest. Betrayed and broken, her spirit remained trapped in the house, tormented by her sudden death. On full moon nights, her ghost would appear by the window, her pale face illuminated by the silvery light, her hands reaching out as if begging someone to free her from eternal suffering. Years passed, and the house remained abandoned, with the villagers avoiding it. No one dared to step into the decaying walls of the cursed house, for it was said to be haunted by Lan's spirit, and anyone who dared to approach the well would be cursed. The house became a forgotten relic left to be consumed by time and rot, but the memories of the past would never fade. Hung, a young girl from a nearby village, had grown up hearing stories about the haunted house. Her grandmother often warned her about the house, telling her tales of the girl in the white dress, the dress that Lan had worn the night she died. Despite the eerie stories, Hung couldn't stop feeling that there was something she needed to discover about the house. However, her grandmother always spoke of it with fear and caution. She warned Hung never to go near the house, especially on full moon nights when Lan's spirit was strongest. But one day, when Hung's grandmother fell gravely ill and fell into a deep sleep, Hung felt herself drawn to the old house. The memories of her grandmother's stories still echoed in her mind, but curiosity pushed her to explore. She wandered through the forest, hoping to shake off the thoughts in her head. As she ventured deeper into the woods, she suddenly found herself in front of the old house, staring up at its decaying walls. A strong wind blew through the ancient trees, and an ominous feeling seemed to fill the air. Hung hesitated, but then pushed open the door and stepped inside. The inside of the house was even more terrifying. The floorboards creaked under her feet as she explored the dark, dusty rooms. Faded portraits of forgotten ancestors hung on the walls, their eyes seemingly following her every move. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and the silence was unsettling, broken only by the occasional sound of wind whistling through the cracks in the windows. As Hung ventured deeper into the house, she felt the temperature drop suddenly, and a chill ran down her spine. The door slammed shut behind her, trapping her inside. Hung's heart pounded in her chest as she turned around, searching for a way out. But the house seemed to have changed. The corridors she once knew now stretched on endlessly, twisting and bending like a labyrinth. It was as though the house had come alive, the walls closing in on her. And then she heard it, the whisper of a voice calling her name. Hung! Panicked, she spun around. At the end of the hallway stood a pale figure. A girl in a white dress, her long black hair cascading down to cover her face. Her eyes glowed with an eerie light. Hung froze in fear, unable to move or speak. The girl in the white dress slowly approached her, her voice soft but haunting. "Help me," the ghost whispered. "Please help me." Hong's heart seemed to stop as she instinctively took a step back. The ghost's eyes locked onto her, and for a moment Hong felt as though she were being pulled into another world, a world full of darkness, despair, and endless sorrow. The presence of the ghost was overwhelming, and her sadness seemed to fill the air. The cold in the house intensified, and Hong felt the weight of Lan's pain pressing down on her. The ghost extended a hand toward Hong, its long, pale fingers trembling with the unspoken pain. Without thinking, Hong turned and ran, sprinting through the house. But the house seemed determined to keep her there, doors slamming shut before her as if trapping her. The whispers grew louder, the air thick with hissing and moaning. And just when she thought she couldn't run any longer, she discovered a hidden door. This door led down into a dark basement, and as she descended into the darkness, Hong's eyes slowly adjusted to the dim light. In the middle of the room stood an old well. The air around it felt heavy, as if there was an invisible force. Hong slowly approached, as if drawn by an unseen power. She bent down to look inside, and what she saw froze her blood. From the depths of the well, Hong saw the reflection of the girl in the white dress. Her face was now contorted in an agonizing scream, her eyes wide open, unable to close. Hong realized that Lan's death had not been an accident. The ghost was trapped in this house, imprisoned by the curse of the well. Her soul would never find peace, and she would continue to haunt the house until someone helped her find freedom. As Hong stared into the well, she heard the voice calling her name again, this time clearer than ever. "Come back, help me, set me free." Hong knew what she had to do. She had to help Lan. The curse had been placed upon the girl, and now it was her responsibility to break it. But as she turned to leave the basement, she felt a shift in the air. The house suddenly grew darker, the walls tightening as if trying to keep her there forever. The whispers turned into painful hissing sounds, and the cold in the house became unbearable. Suddenly, the ghost of Lan appeared before her, this time closer than ever. The girl was no longer a distant figure. Her body was soaked, water dripping from her form as she moved slowly, her hands hanging loosely by her sides. Her face was pale, distorted by the prolonged suffering. The girl walked toward Hong, her hands cold as ice, and Hong felt the unspoken pain weighing heavily on her. "Give me back my dress," the ghost whispered, her voice weak from the pain. "Give me back what was taken from me." Lan's cries echoed throughout the house, and the walls seemed to groan under the weight of her sorrow. Hong could no longer bear it. She ran out of the house, but as soon as she stepped outside, the world around her seemed to change. The village was eerily silent, no one in sight. The houses stood there, but their windows were dark, as if no one lived there anymore. Hong turned back to the house, but now it was no longer the same. The door creaked open by itself, as if inviting her to step inside again. She knew she had to return. The curse was not over. In the center of the village, she saw the old well again. As she approached, she noticed the wild grass had parted, revealing an inscription carved into the stone. "The traitor, the killer, silence kills." Looking into the well, she once again saw Lan's face, now clear, filled with sorrow. Blood streamed from her temple, and her eyes stared directly at Hong. In that moment, Hong understood the truth. The killer had never been punished, and the truth had been buried under fear. Hong knew what she had to do. She would help the ghost find peace. But doing so would require her to sacrifice herself. The curse would never end.